Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Huddle KGUN 9 streaming show, weekly here on all of our platforms. We come to you live on a Tuesday, and my regular co-host, Jason Barr, is out on assignment today, and I've got a good friend of mine, Brent Stover, and you may recognize him from CBS Sports Network. He does the studio analysis for them, the hosting for them. He also does play-by-play, and he just completed the Indoor Football League Championship game for CBS Sports Network last summer, and now he is also wears a couple of hats, and one of them is he's now let me get your title right, the Director of Broadcasting for the Indoor Football League. We'll get to more on that in a moment, but first, Brent, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Pat. You know, it's great to go down memory lane with you, and every time I see you, we kind of pick up where we left off. But when I think about it, like the heyday of our friendship, being colleagues, has been more than 2 decades, which
I know
makes me feel old. But at the same time, I hear your voice, and it takes me right back to like 2006.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It has been 20 years. Brent and I worked together in Pittsburgh and St. Louis, and we've kept in touch and run into each other a couple times. But lately, it's just been for the Indoor Football League, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. We always start out too, Brent. I forgot to warn you about this, but it's not. I'm not going to throw a big curveball at you. We start out every week with a poll question. We ask our viewers to go on to our X account, and they can vote on this question. And the question is Arizona basketball getting the national attention it deserves? Yes, ESPN Game Day just visited and covers them a lot. Of course, they've been on Big Monday 3 times, including last night with a win over Iowa State. No, they are underrated still, or C, kind of. Duke, UConn, solid and deserve more hype. Okay, so I went with A. I think they are getting the national attention they deserve. What are your thoughts? Because I know you're based in New York City. There's that supposed East Coast bias. What's your thoughts about the respect level that Arizona's getting this year?
It's funny, I always talk to my colleagues out here about East Coast bias because, as you know, I'm a Midwesterner, grew up in Kansas. So we do joke about it because sometimes there's complaints that, there's an 11 o'clock game and all that. Well, I love late-night college basketball and late-night college football. I'd say yes, they're definitely getting the respect they deserve. Obviously, they're a 1 seed. They're ranked number 2. We saw what they just did against Iowa State. Really impressive last night. So I am comfortable saying they're getting the respect they deserve. Also comfortable saying that, with the injury to LJ Kaysen for Michigan, I kind of felt like it was Michigan the last couple of weeks and everybody else. But I think that really, unfortunately, you hate to see a kid get injured, but that brings Michigan back to the pack. And you can make the argument that Arizona right now is the best team in the country.
Yeah, I think so as well. We'll talk about Arizona here in a second, but I'll just remind everybody they can go on to X and they'll vote, and we'll show that at the end of the program and see exactly where, this is obviously a heavily slanted Arizona fan base, but we'll see what their thoughts are. They may think that we're not getting the attention and the respect they deserve. It's hard to say. For a team that was ranked number 1 for 8 weeks, I think, and the only reason they lost those 2 games were, go to Kansas. A lot of teams go to Kansas and lose, right? And then they lost that Texas Tech game when they were completely outmanned as far as not having Koa Pete, not having Dwayne Aristo, one of their bench players, and really kind of trying to find a rotation. Then they go to Houston, Brent. I thought the turning point of the season was a couple of weeks ago when they went to Houston, and then last Tuesday they went to Baylor, and they figured out ways to win without Koa Pete and Dwayne Aristo. And maybe they learned they have a little bit more depth to the Wildcats than we initially thought.
Might have been a silver lining having guys out and having to kind of mix and match a little bit. By the way, how good was Aristotle last night? I mean, he was awesome. I would just say this. Clearly the best team in the Big 12, and I'm with you. It was that moment when they played against the Houston Cougars that really, it started to send Houston on a little bit of a negative path, although that was a murderer's row that they had to face, those 3 games that they lost in a row there, for the first time in 9 years for that program. But perhaps there's a changing of the guard in the Big 12. Obviously, since Houston joined, they've been the top team, supplanting KU, and now Arizona hops into the conference, and here they are this year winning the conference title. I feel like I'm with you on that was the turning point. not a huge turning point because we knew they were one of the best teams in the country, but to really control offensively and lock down Houston defensively the way they did in that game, certainly I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, we can't overlook Iowa State either. Iowa State's taken their lumps. They've also faced. Tommy Lloyd called it a gauntlet, the gauntlet of the Big 12, and all of these top teams had their schedule so backloaded playing each other. The Houstons and Kansases and Iowa States and Arizonas all kind of played each other at the same time, and it really was a gauntlet. Last night, Iowa State just looked like they can play defense like nobody else. They can play that really physical, almost, overbearing, powerful brand of basketball, but they can't score the basketball all that well, and I think that caught up with them last night.
It did, and I was most impressed with I think Arizona's defense had a huge, played a massive part in that. Arizona, it was kind of a slog in the first half at both ends, and then Arizona closed the first half on either a 12 or 14-3 run there, and then controlled the game in the second half, and Arizona pulls up and hits a three, and then that putback dunk, and it put them up by 16 or 17, and at that point it was game over, about midway, through the second half. So as good as much firepower as the Wildcats have, and you and your fans don't need me to parachute in and tell you how good you guys are offensively, outside looking in to an extent, it was the defense that impressed me the most, especially last night. And as you've alluded to, it's kind of been that way all season. Arizona maybe doesn't get the credit they deserve defensively. And last night, they were far and away the better defensive team on the floor.
Brent Stover from CBS Sports Network joining me from his dressing room, as he's got to work a little later tonight as well on CBS Sports Network. He's got his wardrobe ready to go, that's for sure. You mentioned getting the credit, and it was interesting after the game. They cut down the nets. They had a great celebration. I was there, season ticket holder, so I get to see all that in person. It was really amazing to see. It reminded me a lot of how powerful and dominant that Arizona had become in the Pac-12 under Tommy Lloyd. Now it translates over to the Big 12. You see that trophy that they got, and this is only step one of what they hope to be a couple of more times cutting down nets, but. Tommy Lloyd in the post-game news conference last night was kind of asked about, well, this is an Arizona team that now is able to be as physical as Houston is or as physical as Iowa State is, and we saw that, and you mentioned it last night, in their defensive ability to man up, and to be physical. But Tommy kind of took a little bit of a different slant on that because Arizona for the longest time was known as that West Coast team, and they don't play that kind of style. And we're going to play this now for you, Brent, and I want you to react to it after we play it. Well, I'm hoping we're going to play it. Yeah, we do. Brian, our producer, is going to. There we go.
We were soft is lazy. I mean, look at our stats. Look at our analytics. We've always been a great rebounding team. We've always pounded the paint. If you want to just be lazy and not pay attention and say we're soft because we're on the West Coast, be lazy. And I'd love to play against you.
So that's what he said last night. First, your thoughts about that, about where Arizona was a few years ago in the Pac-12 versus where they are right now in the Big 12. And do you agree with that?
Well, I do think that stereotype, there's reasons there's stereotypes. And what he's saying is it's certainly not what people made it out to be. I would say they certainly in the last couple of years have improved defensively. This year they're phenomenal defensively. But it is kind of lazy, and we're probably all guilty of that, especially in the national media of saying, oh, yeah, it's West Coast, it's Pac-12. And it's just kind of the same narrative in college football down through the years as well, is that it's run and shoot, scores in the 50s, nobody playing defense. And it's probably unfair, but probably it's been a long, long time for the Arizona Wildcat basketball program, certainly preceding him or maybe when he first came to Arizona, that it was like that. But it certainly isn't now. I love that he went out and said that because, it's kind of the Dan Hurley idea. Those are the sound bites we want to hear, and we want to hear guys protect his guys. And he's certainly one of the players, coaches that's going to come to the defense of his guys, because that's a knock on them when things like that and narratives like that get spread.
140 wins for Tommy Lloyd now at Arizona in his 5 years. That's the most for any coach in the first 5 years of their Division I career. So congratulations to Tommy. Yeah, we don't get a lot of sound bites. We don't get sound bites like that usually from Tommy Lloyd. But I will say this: I agree that statistically Arizona's always been tough. It's not like they under Tommy Lloyd these last 5 years they haven't played well defensively. They just haven't played to this level. And he made a statement. It was 4 years ago. They lost to Houston in the Sweet 16, and he made note of the fact that under Kelvin Sampson, that Houston team is just tougher than they are. And he did make efforts to go out and make sure that they were tougher in that sense so they could play against teams like Houston and Iowa State. And I understand why he's saying the national discussion that because they're from the West they must be soft. That's not fair. That's lazy. But he did kind of refocus his recruiting the last couple of years to get a Tobe Awaka and to get a Mo Krivas. And yeah, so while he's right in one sense, he did go out and do that to get better.
Yeah, I just would say this. You don't want it to get twisted that, because they can lock you down now and they're physical, they're not skilled. Because the skill on this team is out of this world. I mean, Koa Pete, clearly one of the best players in the country. Top 5 for my money, top 10 maybe. But you're talking about Koa Pete, you're talking about Braden Burries and Awaka. They've got the depth, and as you alluded to, they've been able to build that depth a little bit. But the skill level is off the charts on this team. Yeah. So it's the perfect mix. And I realize I realize my audience here, but I would say this to anybody. I mean, that's why you're the number 2 team in the country, and you could make the argument that if the national title game was tonight, that Arizona 100% would belong in there.
Yeah, and you never know how things shake out with the conference tournament and with the way the seedings and who you just run into. You never know, but they look really good. Let me get your thoughts though on what are the teams standing in the way. I mean, it might be the obvious: Duke, Michigan, maybe a Florida or UConn, but they beat UConn, they beat Florida. They just haven't faced Duke or Michigan yet.
100%. If this is possible, bear with me, Pat. I feel like Duke is actually being overlooked the last couple of years, especially this season, because the ACC isn't nearly what it always is. Yeah. The last 2 years, it's been very underachieving. So I think it's been kind of easy to overlook Duke. But then you go, you watch them on the road against an NC State team that is going to make the NCAA tournament and absolutely crush them last night. I mean, I would say Duke has to be one of those teams. Michigan, even with the loss of L.J. Kaysen, has to be one of those teams. Can't overlook the fact that he's the best backup point guard in the country. Yep. They've got 2 of everything. Now they really only have 1 point guard, which clearly is the most important position on the floor. But they still have 2 of everything else. So when you're talking about quality depth, they're going to be a national title contender. I still like Illinois. Now, last Friday night, it wasn't great, clearly, against Michigan. But Michigan's done that to a lot of teams. I love the brand of basketball they play, kind of that European style, a lot of skilled guys, fun to watch. I went on record 2.5 weeks ago, and I've been getting crushed on Instagram on the CBS Sports College Basketball. At the time, I picked Nebraska to play for the national title, which clearly does not look good. At the time, I think they were 20-2. I am still a believer that Nebraska could make a run. Are they Final Four good? Maybe not, but they're one of those teams that is, keep saying it, but so skilled, play a pretty brand of basketball. They share the ball so well, so team-oriented. I love Hoiberg. So those are some of the teams that jump off the page, and obviously the UConn Huskies. But the 2 teams that I think you could start to ask some questions about right now are Purdue, a little bit inconsistent, where sometimes they don't look like a top 10 team or a number 2 seed, and Iowa State. Clearly, it's been a tough stretch for Otzelberger and the guys the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it certainly has. We've sit here and talked about Arizona and other contenders for a national championship, and we still haven't mentioned Jaden Bradley once. And yet, Jaden Bradley, Fran Fraschilla said it last night at the end of the broadcast. This is a team that is defined by one player, really, in the sense that he is the guy that stirs the drink. He's the glue guy. I mean, he's everything when you're talking about Jaden Bradley. And I know he'll never win National Player of the Year. I doubt he has even an outside chance of winning the MVP of the Big 12. I don't know if there's any more valuable player in the country right now than that guy on a championship caliber team.
Because and you exactly made the point. We haven't even mentioned him yet because he's just such the heart and soul of this team and does everything for the team that it's easy not to overlook him, but maybe to just kind of take it for granted. Yeah, of course, Jaden Bradley. He's the heart and soul and one of the nation's best players. I love Jaden Bradley, and clearly the young guys and the new faces on this roster this year have benefited greatly from being around him, clearly on and off the floor.
Yeah, and it's such an unusual year, though, isn't it? One last basketball question, and that is you have so many freshmen from DeBonsa to Koa Pete to Braden Burries and down the line of all over the country, all these freshmen. But the unique thing that Arizona has, while they start 3 freshmen, they still have Jaden Bradley to kind of pull it all together.
Yeah, it's awesome. And to your point, kind of bigger picture, how great is college basketball on the floor right now? Off the floor, I could, I'm kind of over with the kind of pretending that it's great for all these guys to jump around from team to team. And I'm having trouble staying with that. But on the floor, Pat, college basketball every night is awesome. I can't remember it being this fantastic. I don't ever remember
a season, and you know me, Brent, I'm a huge college basketball fan, but I don't remember a night this year that I didn't at least turn on a game for a little bit. Like almost every night I'm turning on a game.
Every night, or you're flipping around to like 10 or 12 different games.
Oh yeah, no, and I'm checking you guys out for whatever game you have on CBS Sports Network. I'm going through the ESPNs. I'm jumping all over for the Fox Sports. I mean, you got to give credit. There's a lot of games on because that's where the money is, right? That's how you get the money, but we're all benefiting from that part of it. We may not be liking the moving around, the transfer portal, the NIL, all that stuff, but man, you're right. The game is better than ever, and our access is better than ever, it seems.
Absolutely, and this is my favorite time of year. Like tonight, we've got a triple header. We've got VCU's our first game. Well, their first 4 out right now. Everybody talks St. Louis in the year they're having in the A-10. VCU's really good. It's San Diego State, and we just had them on CBS over the weekend. Their first 4 out, must-win situation. Got New Mexico, who's now last 4 in after beating San Diego State. We've got them later on tonight. So, as much as you want to have the best teams in the country every night, we're blessed right now to be in this fun time where in the last week, you've got such unbelievable pivotal games. And it kind of goes to the point, I know we don't have time to get into everything, Pat, but I don't know about tournament expansion because some of these teams – these games would not mean as much because some of these teams would be more safely into the tournament instead of having to play for their tournament lives right now.
Yeah. Real quick, Miami of Ohio is an interesting situation, isn't it? If they lose a game somewhere, I mean, you're all of a sudden you're like, well, do they really belong? But, maybe they do. I don't know. They just haven't. We just don't know, right? We just don't know.
Strength of schedule isn't great. Obviously, my cohort is Wally Zerbiak, their most famous alum. He and Ron Harper, but he took him to the Sweet 16 in late 90s. So we're having fun with that. No team with 28 or more wins has ever missed the tournament, and they're at 29-0. But strength of schedule is not there. They had to pull one out of the fire last Friday. I think they can. I think they can afford one loss, and they can afford a second loss if it comes in the championship game of the MAC. That's how I'm looking at it. But it depends what other teams do, as you know.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So, all right, let's put on your other hat. Let's talk Indoor Football League right now because the Tucson Sugar Skulls have, they've had a pretty good run here in Tucson. A lot of that had to do with Kevin Guy and the Arizona Rattlers connection and him and his wife Kathy Guy owning the Sugar Skulls as an expansion team in 2019. But now under new ownership, Edmund Marquez, who's actually went to my high school, Brent, here in Tucson, so I've known him for a long time.
Awesome.
There just seems to be a buzz now with this team because of the new ownership group, a new head coach. They're making a lot of moves as far as the roster goes. Your thoughts about where this team and where this franchise is headed?
Well, I think they're on the way up. Certainly last year was a little bit disappointment. We got new ownership. There's going to be a lot of roster turnover this year. I think the Kevin Guy thing does add some pizzazz to it with he and his wife. But this is a good move on and off the field. I think they're going to be much improved this year. Probably one of those teams. I don't know if they'll make the playoff, but I think they'll be in the hunt all season long. I would just say in general, the Indoor Football League, there has not been this much excitement and buzz going into a season of the entire sport of indoor football, going back to the early 2000s when the Arena Football League signed that deal with NBC. Remember that? They had pregame, postgame, and they had big names on it. I remember as a much younger man being so excited about that. Yeah. I would say the buzz nationally surrounding the IFL heading into this season has never been bigger for the sport of indoor and arena football. I think it's going to be awesome. And clearly you guys are in the heart of it. Yeah. And now you got New Mexico, I guess not too far away there in Albuquerque, same region, obviously, with the Chupacabras, and they've got great ownership. They're an expansion team this year, but between them and the Rattlers and the Sugar Skulls and the Wranglers of Northern Arizona, like you guys are the epicenter of this thing. I think it's going to be an awesome deal, and clearly we've got the partnership with Yahoo Sports, and they are all in, so it's going to be fun. Yeah. Fun season.
That should be a good one. You called the championship game last year here in Tucson. That pound for pound might have been the greatest game I've ever seen in person. It just never stopped, Brent. In case people don't remember, Green Bay against Vegas, and neither team could stop each other until the last play of the game.
Yeah, there was not a single defensive stop the entire game until at the 1-inch line. I mean, it was definitely maybe 6 inches at the most, and Max Myler, the MVP of the league, gets stopped, defensive stand. And the cool thing, the connection clearly with Jaden Delara, coming back to where he played there at Arizona and then winning the title for the Vegas Nighthawks. And you know what? Being in Tucson for that, it was great to catch up with you. But what I saw is what you've known for a long time is the fan base is awesome there in Tucson. And the love for the IFL, you guys have a great spot, and we're at least 2, maybe 3 more years, the championship is going to be there. In Tucson, which is so cool. So I love that for you guys. I love it for the league as well. And it's fun to have a neutral site championship game. So we'll be back there again this August.
Yeah, that'll be great. Tell me more about, I think what fans are going to notice, and you can talk more about it as being the director of broadcasting, but there's going to be a lot more continuity in the broadcasts as well that we maybe have missed if you turned on some of the opposing teams when the Sugar Skulls would go on the road. Sometimes the broadcast quality wasn't very good. It's all going to be pretty uniform and really good this year.
Yeah, I agree, and you're going to be a huge part of it. Like that's, you were obviously one of the first calls we had to make. They're trying to regionalize it to an extent, so you'll be obviously around that region calling the Sugar Skulls games. But to your point, like it's not it's not, hey, this is the home team, just because it's regionalized with different broadcast crews in different markets. But we're gonna have the Sunday night national game of the week, which I'm gonna have the good fortune of doing the play-by-play for with Seth Bonner, who's a legendary Rattlers quarterback and Arena Football League Hall of Famer. Ari Wolf, who's been involved in the arena game, calling games and being on the sidelines for more than 25 years. He'll be the lead sideline reporter. Mark May is going to do some games as an analyst. Sean King, the former NFL quarterback. Lincoln Kennedy, longtime great lineman. Danny Cannell, who, had a really solid NFL career, but also played indoor football. He's going to do some games. Right. So I'm really excited. Like the play-by-play guys like yourself that have lined up, that are talented with huge resumes, that wanted to get in and be a part of this. Alex Cohen, who's, the number 2 Cubs play-by-play guy behind Boog Shambi. Like he's doing a bunch of games for us. Dave Ryan, longtime veteran. It's like I said, we're excited to have the crew that we put together, and it's large because a lot of it's regionalized. We could not be more excited about it. Yeah. So, and you're going to be a huge part of it. So, very cool for us.
I'm looking forward to it, and can't wait for the season to kick off. You see, March 14th is the kickoff, and I think maybe a week later I'm doing a game as well. So we'll get it all kicked off. Now I'm going to ask our producer Ryan to do this 2-minute warning. So strap on that chin strap, pull a little tight, Brent, and here we go. There's even music for it. You got to have music. This is a 2-minute warning. We're going to ask 4 questions. I've not seen these before. You'll see them when I see them, and it's kind of just give me your hot take as soon as Ryan gets the first question up here. All right. Will number 1 Duke and number 2 Arizona play each other, I assume, in March in the final? I guess that would be the championship game. That would be my guess. What do you think? Good matchup in the finals?
No, I don't think that'll be the matchup in the Final Four. In the national title. I think it's a Final Four matchup.
Yeah,
national semifinal.
That could be. Who do you think is going to be in the finals at
I'm
this
sticking
point?
I'm sticking with Illinois against Arizona.
All right, I like it. All right, that's first down. Let's go to second down now. Is March Madness better than pro sports playoffs? Interesting. Your thoughts?
100%. It's the best month in sports, hands down. By the way, the Stanley Cup Finals are awesome. I love the World.
They are.
October is an awesome month. So you're splitting hairs here, but March Madness 100%.
And here's what I'll say. I'll agree with that. March Madness is the best, unless any one of those you're talking about, NHL, NBA, or Major League Baseball has a Game 7. Then it gets close, right? A Game 7 makes it a little bit closer. But I'll say
best two words in sports. Game 7.
Game 7. There you go. All right, that's second down. How about we go third down now on our 2-minute warning? Will MLB's ABS strike ball replay system be popular with fans? Well, my guess is as long as they get it right, then aren't you going to be happy with that? Because right now, yeah.
Year one, not so much. I think it's going to be mixed. Not for me. I don't like it at all. And it's going to make the umpires look bad, right? Like, the guys are going to have a bad night.
It already has. Have you seen some of those spring training games? But I've seen the umpires be right, though, a couple of times, and that makes the batter look like, you don't know what you're talking about either. So, I don't know. I think it's like anything. You might be opposed to it, but it's here. So you might as well just let it play out, and after it smooths out, it'll probably be something we'll just be like, how did we ever get by without having this? I didn't like the pitch clock for the first year, and now I love it because I harken back to the days in July when you and I were covering the Cardinals, and Tony La Russa would make 17 pitching changes on a July afternoon. It was 1,000 degrees out. Somebody would throw 2 pitches, and he'd bring in another reliever. It's like, come on, 1,000 degrees, definitely. All right, fourth down. Here we go, Brent Stover. Fourth down for you. Will Kyler Murray be a starting quarterback in the NFL again? Your thoughts?
Yes, somewhere. He's gonna have a second act like Sam Darnold, something like that. I'm rooting for that story.
It could be. So in case people are just joining us here on this Tuesday, ESPN reporting, among other outlets, that the Arizona Cardinals will release Kyler Murray. He'll be able to go anywhere unless they can trade him in the next week, which why would you trade for somebody if you can just pick him up in a week? So he'll get another opportunity somewhere. And yeah, I say he's going to be a starting quarterback somewhere else. And, maybe he'll put down the PlayStation and he'll start studying game film and he'll have a resurgence. He'll have a resurgence.
Kevin O'Connell is kind of a quarterback whisperer. I'd be interested to see if the Vikings try to add him.
That's what a lot of people think. Vikings, perhaps the Vikings. All right, let's, as we wrap it up here, Brent, let's look at perhaps results of that poll question. I don't know, Producer Ryan, if you've got a chance to call up the poll question results. I'm looking on X right now just to make sure I know. There, he's got them. Oh, they say no, they're underrated, but 45% say, 35% say, yes, they're getting the just dessert that they are deserving of, and kind of Duke UConn solid 20%. I'm a little surprised, but I'm not overly surprised about this, Brent.
You always feel like your team is not getting their just due. My dad still does this when he's watching a broadcast, and clearly his son has been a broadcaster objectively for years, and he's always like, they're rooting against us, And I'm like, Dad, you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. We get every single call. We're in the Super Bowl every single year. And you think the announcers are against us? So it's kind of that same thing. Yeah. No offense to your fans. I love that they're included in this. But I feel like we all do that. Yeah.
I think that's it. And I think that's probably where this vote splits at. 45% no, say they're underrated, 35%. I went with the 35%. I went with yes, they're getting what they deserve. But I can understand that. They're still sitting at number 2. Duke's number 1. But, hey, get a number 1 seed. You're in the West. What more do you want?
Absolutely. Pat, I got to make one plug. I know when people aren't watching your channel, we got a massive triple header starting at 7 Eastern tonight, 7, 9, and 11. 3 bubble games for your viewers. It's going to be fun.
No offense, but do what I do. You flip around a little bit, and then you get back. And when it's halftime and you want to see great analysis, you watch Brent Stover and the gang, including Wally Zerby. You got great stuff. You guys got good stuff.
Absolutely, but don't skip out on the news. K-Gun
No,
9, cannot miss it.
Please do not. All right. Brent, thank you. Always a pleasure. Great fun. And we'll catch back up with you during the summer for IFL Talk.
Gonna be awesome. Really appreciate you having me. This is a cool thing.
Awesome. Excellent. Good job, Brent. Thanks very much. And thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday for another edition of The Huddle, K-Gun 9's streaming sports talk show.